Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Steiner. I'm Senior Manager for Business Strategy at the consulting firm Pharmatech Associates. And I'm pleased to talk today about implementing advanced manufacturing technologies for improved patient safety and supply. And with that, I go on with my slide deck. By the way, I'm giving my regards here from wonderful beautiful British Columbia. So we have here early morning hours, and it's nice to have the opportunity to speak on this conference even from far away. So and between the cocktail hour now and so it's just my presentation. Table of content, I hope you can see that well, is intro where we are with the implementation of advanced manufacturing technologies. What is pharmaceutical continuous manufacturing, benefits of this technology, why it is important for patient safety, the supply chain agility, and in the outro, what else to consider. So let's start. I recently visited a conference in Boston where Janet Woodcock was the speaker. And I hope that my slide deck here works now. I think everyone should be familiar with the name. She is a Principal Deputy Commissioner at FDA. And I found it pretty interesting to listen to her talk because she basically mentioned that the supply chain disruption and shortage of medicine is still a big topic today, even if this was addressed many, many years earlier. And not just due to the pandemic, this situation seemed to be still a problem. And so she highlighted that this supply chain disruption continues. Current manufacturing systems even more lack the surge capacity. And another topic she highlighted was that the pharmaceutical supply chain is still fragile. And this is not just her observation. She went on saying that maybe regionalization might be viable. Also that governments try to support more to incentivize implementation of advanced manufacturing technologies, or may even establish redundancies. And she also saying that it's a matter of national security. And so she thinks, and the FDA with her, that advanced manufacturing is now much more actionable for the near future. At the same time, I saw that the former commissioner of the FDA, Scott Gottlieb, also mentioned in an interview on May 21st that about 300 drugs are in active shortage just in the US. And I think it's not just the case for the US, also for a lot of other nations worldwide. We see that it's past COVID and the hiccups in the supply chain. It's even more still a problem that supply chain is not back to what it should be. Why I'm highlighting that? Because it's not only just me believing that advanced manufacturing technologies such as pharmaceutical continuous manufacturing can produce better quality of medicine or develop drug more rapidly, but it can, most importantly, also prevent drug shortages. And in my presentation, I will elaborate on how and why this is a solution. Maybe not 100% solution for every problem, but at least it is one of the elements which should be considered more actively in the point of view also from regulators. But first, just a short definition of what pharmaceutical continuous manufacturing by definition means, because there are still today a lot of discussions around. So ICH, the harmonization group with Q13, established just beginning of this year a harmonized guideline where it is clearly pointed out that continuous manufacturing for pharmaceutical means the combination of unit operations, which can be intrinsically either working still in a batch mode or being really a continuous flow regime. So once you combine these unit operations, then the definition is met to be a pharmaceutical continuous manufacturing system. And to pound this out as well, it is true for drug substance manufacturing as well as drug product manufacturing. I will go on for those who might not know familiar with the OSD manufacturing process for all solid dosage products. So imagine you have the typical unit operations from dispensing, blending, granulation, another blending process before you go into the compression machine for tableting, and then you have the coder. So in the traditional approach, one unit operation comes after the other, and with IBCs in between the material, the intermediates are handed over from one unit operation to the other before finishing the product. And that's of course a quite lengthy process, also considering that you have in between each of these operations usually quality checks. So here comes now already one of the big improvements with continuous processing, because all these unit operations now work together at the same time. So the intermediates are basically transported from one unit operation to the other. And this gives you a gain of productivity. And I will show you why. And this has to do with a term, with a measure, with a benchmark, which is not that commonly used in the industry, but I think it's a good measure to benchmark processes, overall equipment effectiveness, OEE. This means availability, performance, and quality. So if you look at this equation and you go back to our picture I showed before, so each of these unit operation has an intrinsic own OEE driven by the part if there's manual work or if the equipment can really run in a continuous regime. So you can see today, if you would analyze existing batch operations, you can see that each of these unit operations have a particular OEE level. Some companies define it a little bit differently, the OEE, but in a nutshell, I think you can see that. If I would now, as saying I combine all of that and I have to multiply this, then I would come down to a really very low OEE for this operation. And that's exactly the problem with batch processing. Going to a continuous process, as mentioned before, the whole unit operation works together for either the best performing in the optimum way or the lowest performing, but they are all linked together and work together. Nonetheless, you have already, just with this simple equation, you can see the benefit of a higher OEE and consequently a higher output. So that's already one measure to improve these, also the supply chain, because you can get more productivity out of the same or smaller sizes of equipment, and you can react much more agile to the demand of the market. So development has its benefits to get drugs faster developed. It's one part of the equation as well. When it comes to new drug entities, you have maybe in some cases even no tech transfer necessary. But again, I want to focus in this presentation just on the commercial production and the benefits here, which are shorter lead times. You have flexible batch sizes, which you can implement. You have a higher yield because you manufacture right quality at the time. And you have also cost savings because you have fewer operators. Also quality assurance costs are going down because you have advanced technology also on the control of the system, which I will also have a closer look to it. Lower facility costs, containment and cleaning, and sustainability is just other side effects for this kind of technology. And again, it is true for drug substance as well as drug product applications of continuous. So why is now PCM or continuous manufacturing delivering a more secured quality? Basically, you have a dynamically adjusted process. If you look to the traditional way, the current state of a batch process, you have fixed processes, you control, you check the quality at the outcome of the process, and then you have an end inspection. Still viable input for continuous process, but this is a more dynamically adjusted process by means of monitoring and control the process by PAT, soft PAT, or advanced process control, which is another level of an advanced manufacturing technology. So, and this delivers quality right the first time, and insofar it delivers a much more consistent quality. You have the benefits of also real-time release. And putting all this together in my equation I have shown before, you can expect a much more robust manufacturing system with a higher productivity, which of course will help you again tackling drug shortages. These control systems today, and I saw there are a couple of presentations before me elaborating on Industry 4.0 or Pharma 4.0. Yeah, there's another thing which I want to highlight. Continuous manufacturing allows you, due to the control system necessary to orchestrate all these unit operations, a real in-time monitoring of what is going on in your process. It delivers you an in-time feedback where your process is in executing the product or transforming the product from powder state to a coated finished tablet. And so it gives you exactly what is needed for Industry 4.0, means really in-time feedback. And also, of course, adjustable. If you apply PAT tools, like I have shown here, in a few weeks I will give a presentation about implementation of PAT on the IFPAC conference in Washington. So these PAT tools then help you, either they are soft PAT tools or really online PAT tools. They allow you to check the quality also down the process immediately. So you save the time for all these quality checks, and yeah, you can establish real-time release applications as well, which a few companies have done already. So, and then the same orchestration system gives you the outside connection, the interface to the MES systems, to data historian, to data lakes, or whatever you want to envision in your Industry 4.0 program. We also see today that more and more applications are going in the direction of predictive maintenance, for example, which is interesting in particular for continuous processes. As you can imagine here, if you want to go into, let's say, 24/5 or 24/7 operation, of course, you have to have a constant health check and predictive maintenance applications to make sure that the system is operating. So controls and automation are a very important part of any of these Conti systems. And yeah, last but not least, they also then deliver you for your quality control a consolidated batch reports consolidated failure reports. And I think even one of the requirements from regulators is also an embedded control strategy to make sure that this automated process reacts on deviations. So how has this all to do now with supply chain resilience? That might look like a big step now. But here another observation I did, or another paper I recently participated on the DCAT week in New York, which is a meeting where all the CDMOs are coming together. And a professor from Michigan University gave a very interesting talk about the costs of things keeping on stock. And as I think the warehouse costs are immense for pharmaceuticals in particular because of high value, but also high risk of the capability or the problem that these products are not easy to store for too long time. So the costs are immense. What is located in all of these warehouses alongside the supply chain, not just within the companies and the work in progress sections, but even more on the outside when it comes to the distribution of the products on a global scale. Here, this professor also looked into possibilities to measure, to find performance indicators, and to look closer into the value chain of the whole processes. And beside many factors, I found interesting that he highlighted digital technologies and other innovations as one of the key elements to tackle or to improve supply chains and global supply chains in particular, to have a higher transparency, a view of what is going on and where are the products on their way. And yeah, to me, as a believer in continuous manufacturing, that was the point. I said, okay, innovation such as advanced manufacturing technologies represent, and continuous in particular, will give, of course, an element. And then I was thinking, say, okay, how can I show that what the effect of a continuous process and the benefits are? Because many industries are using this continuous technology to have a demand supply on demand paradigm. So, and then some of you might have heard about the bullwhip effect, which is a well-known effect in all those having to deal with supply chains. And it basically says, there's the patient, he orders, the pharmacy considers, oh, there's more to come, maybe ordering a little bit more to have something on the hand if the patient comes back. Then the next part of the supply chain, the distributor says, oh, there's something, I need to be prepared, and so on and so forth. So depending on how many elements, but at the you have in the supply chain, but then finally at the manufacturer, yeah, it's going higher and higher with the effects I've shown, that these warehouse costs are immense and the risk is high on those. Continuous manufacturing now can help to supply on demand. And this is what I want to highlight in my presentation as a main takeaway. So if you look into the concept of flexible batch size, again, assume today you have a 5-day work week, you have one shift every day where you manufacture your products. Let's say these are 5 batches on 8-hour shifts per week. You have an average capacity of 125,000 taps per hour. So you come out with, after 1 week, about 5 million tablets. So you have a fixed batch size and you operate this on a daily basis. Going now to the second shift, saying, okay, I define my batch a little bit bigger. I run for 16 hours over 2 shifts. Of course, then 10 billion tablets on the same equipment, on the same place. And then last but not least, if I would do a 24/5 manufacturing of with one batch over 120 hours, and I can get 15 billion tablets out of the same system. There are companies doing this already since longer. I know some regional manufacturers even can do that with their Conti equipment, and they really scale their shifts on the demand. And as this equipment can do that, they operate then multiple shifts to get the products out in, let's say, if this is a seasonal flu product or so. But here the thing is, and this is why I want to mention now with the new harmonized guidelines, regulatories are accepting to file products with flexible batch size, which means you can, on demand, if you see that there is more demand requested in certain seasons or certain regions, you can say, okay, I define my batch size also as a range. And even better, you can say I defined it with a minimum and maximum runtime. Important, it should be defined before the manufacturing begins, of course. But again, so here with implementing this advanced continuous manufacturing technology with control systems described before, you have basically a much more agile manufacturing tool in place to ride the wave of demand over a certain time or for a certain product. And with that, you can, of course, contribute just locally with your manufacturing to balance supply chain risks and to react on demand as quick as possible and necessary. And yeah, as a nice side effect, it will also have benefits for your profitability as a manufacturer. This small graph will show you a bit a glimpse of what I wanted to highlight. And this was also confirmed recently by a study from another professor, Clifton Rossi from University of Maryland, US. He used the same principle, saying that if you implement this kind of technology, you will have specific cost advantages. In the other way translated, of course, a higher net present value. So if you compare the batch traditional technology with the Conti technology, you have in a certain range a higher flexibility. That's the area between the two graphs. And you can gain much more net present value and make use, in other terms, you basically make use of the OEE equation I showed earlier to utilize the equipment to the fullest. And so, of course, you get a better payback for your investment. So there's a lot of benefits, not only for the patient to get a more resilient supply and a much more controlled quality, but also I think a benefit for the manufacturer. I mentioned the study of Rossi, which goes a little bit further, saying if you implement this kind of technology, onshoring, more regionalization manufacturing can be envisioned, as this technology gives you higher competitiveness finally as a manufacturer. If you struggle with costs, what many companies of course do, in particular when it comes to generics and products of this area, by employing continuous manufacturing, you have a lot of cost savings as benefits. And then also he showed with his studies that a regionalization is possible even in high cost countries of the Western Hemisphere. So I promised you to be quick and fast as possible to get you to your cocktail hour. I want to conclude already my presentation with a couple of thoughts around competitiveness. I mean, of course, center of every manufacturer's capabilities is the patient safety and the patient supply. This stays on top of everything. Nonetheless, we are living in a system where you have peers, you compete, and you have to have as lean as possible manufacturing platform to benefit from whatever is your competitive rivalry area. So it makes sense, and this is different from whatever segment you are working in as a pharmaceutical manufacturer. If you are an innovator, if you are generics, OTC, or whatever segment your company is in, this competitive arena will look entirely different. So this should just give a structure of thoughts for strategic decisions. But look at continuous manufacturing also as a factor to drive your competitiveness. Stated before, you can save costs. You can react much faster on the demand. You can take advantage of area of segments in the demand if you can cover the demand faster. And it is also, I think, very important, in particular for very critical illnesses. And we saw that not only in the pandemic time, but also today. I heard many talks about how in rare disease or cancer treatment areas, there are new developments going on. They need to go fast to the market. So whoever has the capabilities and the tool sets on hand to compete, to get the products faster to the patients, also has, of course, a big competitive advantage. And with that, I think it's not just an investment in a new advanced technology for the benefit of patients and their supply, but it has also a very strong business argument for your financial benefit as a company. And so it's not just the upfront investment and the risk, but today I think you have already regulatories on your side, because from the regulatory point of view, is of course the motivation to provide a resilient and a optimum supply to the market, and not tackling all time with drug shortages. Yeah. So again, I hope with this short talk, I provided you some ideas how to gain competitiveness, but at the same time improve the market supply by implementing advanced manufacturing technologies. So many thanks for your attention.
Hi, Richard. Good morning. It's Kevin from Manufacturing Chemist. I hope you're keeping well. Obviously, implementing continuous manufacturing, there's a cost associated, a significant cost. Given the example you showed with the multiple batches and the multiple stages of production, what would you suggest would be a return on investment time frame for people switching from batch to continuous processing?
I think what we can see today from the starting point of the investment to the moment you can make use of the equipment, this can take 3 years to 4. Yeah, so of course that's the big hurdle for everyone, saying how can I pre-finance that. But from this point on, the return on investment, if you deliver the market, can be very fast, maybe 1 or 2 more years, because it depends a little bit on the value of the product you have to supply. Yeah, as higher the value of the product, so for special treatments areas, etc., as faster, of course, than the payback, which is in the net present value represented I have shown. But of course, that's right, and I mentioned it, between the risks you have with the technology or the perceived risks, it is an upfront investment necessary. I want to state one important argument here. Going back to this competitive rivalry, you have equipment in place which depreciates. So you also have, as a company, to look forward in the future and to say, okay, I'm not just looking for depreciating the equipment, and then when it's written off, I can use and make profit. You have to look forward. You have to have the entrepreneurial vision as well, to say, by putting money in my own company, I save the future with it, because I am then stronger in my competitive arena. This is why I'm pounding it out. To me, it's a bit short-sighted to say, oh, I have to cover 3 or 4 years. But what is if your company runs out of business later, if you're not more competitive against your peers? Question mark. What have you saved?
Thank you. Richard, it's Siegfried. One question for you. Even if companies don't go to continuous manufacturing, they can, of course, go for PAT, perhaps even real-time release. But one thing I see is, I would almost call it a fear of implementing it. I've seen companies doing studies, and they could easily do it. They have the money, they have the capabilities and everything, but they don't do it. Anything you could add to this? Why?
I mean, this is, if you will, this is also part of the reason why I moved from equipment sales to a consulting firm now, because I want to help customers to lower this fear. I see it as well, and I think this has a lot to do with the perception that it is complicated. Which was maybe true 10 years ago, but I'm following this since almost 30 years now. Also in my previous activities, very early on, hot melt extrusion or melt granulation on a twin screw systems have been implemented much earlier. So I saw always this fear about the complexity. But today I think there's a wide range of options for the customer to buy equipment. There's a wide range of proven technologies which have shown their capabilities, and there's also a bigger pool of experts who help on this way. Just consultants like myself, but there are more and more. And lastly, you can also see that organizations are supporting it from different groups. Yeah? And I see these activities all over the world. I see them in Japan. I see them in China, in India. So it takes a while, as this industry is not so fast in implementing new technologies. But I hope we can lower this fear by showing cases where it was successfully implemented. And there are many out there as well.
Thank you very much. And I think with that, thank you, and have a good day over there.
Thanks,
Thank you.
and have a nice evening. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.